I want to try something new here. So usually my microphone sits on my desk, and I have to like jack the volume whenever I try to put a video out because it's really quiet. Probably because it's 8 feet away from my face. But I want to try holding it here, even though it feels a little silly because maybe I won't have to do that. We'll see. I might continue to do this. I might redo this whole video. So what I want to talk about, aside from my microphone placement, is the idea of being skeptical towards your environment. And I think it is something that on a surface level, everybody sort of agrees that you probably should be. But I think there's a little bit more there that goes by the wayside, as is a central theme with 90% of the shit I talk about. So on the surface, people will say, or the idea is expressed, you should be skeptical of the things around you, right? You should second guess everything that is presented to you by the so-called experts. You should second guess everything that's presented to you by a figure of authority in your life because their motives, the subtext of it is that you should second guess it because their motives might be nefarious in some way. They might be antithetical to whatever your motives are. And because of that, you should take a closer look at the things that you take for granted. I think that's a great thing, even if it's been somewhat corrupted in, I was going to say in recent times. I'm sure this has been going on for effectively all of human history. I don't know, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption. Here's what I mean by being corrupted. Being skeptical of something means being open to the idea that it's different than you currently think it is. So I'm going to use a bombshell example right off the hop. Let's be skeptical of something that is broadly accepted as truth. We 100%, everybody agrees, democracy is the underpinning of a free and just society. That's totally unquestionable. In Western society, it's completely a given from the time that you even understand what those words mean. So we should question it, right? Is the natural response. Where I'm going with this is we can question it, but this is an easy example because questioning it does not mean it's wrong. Questioning it does not mean that you're being taken advantage of. I think the natural jump, but illogical jump, that it's very easy to make is I should be skeptical of this thing. Therefore, the way it's currently being done is wrong, and I am being exploited in some way by taking it for granted, right? So democracy is the underpinning of a free society. I'm going to be skeptical of that. Okay, right off the hop, I've already decided it's wrong, and now I'm looking for reasons to support that belief instead of taking a genuine look and accepting that might be the right way to do things. I just want to make sure. Right? I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And it's very easy with this example of, okay, well, if you don't have a democratic society, people are not able to have any hand in choosing their leadership, and then that leadership is able to exploit their freedoms. Like, it's a pretty easy, logical chain of events to follow, but it's important to have that thought, is what I'm saying. So I think you need to question, and then you also need to accept that the answer might be, oh, well, it's that way for a good reason, right? Another one is like the pyramids. So across many different cultures, across many thousands of years, there's a lot of pyramids built by ancient civilizations that all look pretty similar. Let's question it. Why? Well, let's be skeptical, okay? The initial interpretation is nothing to see here, right? Well, let's be skeptical. They all look like they're built pretty much the same. Maybe these things were built by the same people across the globe. Maybe there's a secret society on Earth that for some reason oversees the construction of these for nefarious purposes. Maybe they were all built by aliens. A whole world of possibilities opens up, right? Or maybe that's the best way to stack rocks without them falling over. I think I'm stealing from like a 15-year-old Reddit post on this one, but I think it's a very good point to make. We can be skeptical of it, but there is the possibility that there is a good reason for it being the way it is, and you have to be open to that and all possibilities. So what I'm advocating for is to re-examine fundamental beliefs in your life, and I could give more examples, but I think it would be redundant. Take something that you think is just given for granted, you've never questioned it and nobody ever does. It's valuable to question those things. But it's valuable to question those things with the idea that they could be right and they could be there for a good reason, or they might not be. But the inclination is to just jump to anything that I could possibly be skeptical of. The answer is that there's a small and secret cabal of people that are controlling it and using it to worsen the lives of the general populace and manipulating them in some way. Like, whenever people tell you to question authority, that's usually where they're going with it, right? They're like, question the media. And where they're going with that is like, Jewish people control the media and all of the banks, and we need to be very scared of the way they're manipulating our society. Like, it just always just jumps to some ridiculous conclusion of like, there's these, I don't know, 15 people that are controlling every aspect of the way we do things somehow and for some reason, and it's all very nebulous and unclear, but it starts with that questioning of authority. And I don't think the two need to follow. I think you can question authority and you can question givens without immediately going to, it's everything that we're doing is wrong and I'm being controlled and I'm being manipulated. That's not necessarily the case. There can be a broad number of explanations. That can be one of them, and you should be open to that possibility. You should also be open to the possibility that some very smart people sat down, thought through this, worked through it, did a bunch of trial and error, and this is the best system that we've come up with some trade-offs. It's also possible that nobody's really ever thought of this, and this is kind of just the path of least resistance, and we've fallen into this pattern of behavior as a society because it's the easiest and most natural thing for humans to do, and now we're left with a system that might not be ideal, but has sort of asserted itself through inertia, right? It could be anything. It doesn't have to be that Bill Gates is microchipping our blood with vaccines to control the world, the mindset. I don't know. I'm going to I feel like I'm a broken record here, but I'm going to restate my point one more time because it's really the only point I want to make here. The idea of questioning authority is conflated with there being an immediate answer to that questioning of authority. So why are things like they are? They are like they are because I'm being exploited, because something's deeply and unsettlingly wrong and I'm being controlled in some way. That doesn't logically follow. So be skeptical, question the things around you, but legitimately question them. Don't say, oh, I know what's really going on here, and then just look for proof of the lizard people taking over the world. I'm advocating for a system of, I guess, good faith investigation. And you can't do it for everything. I'm not saying like question whether or not the sky is blue and question whether or not the air is actually poison and question whether or not the world was snapped into being last Tuesday. Sure, you can if you want, but there's a degree of productivity here. You can't question everything, but I think it's valuable to at least take a swing at some deep set beliefs just for the hell of it sometimes. But don't let it completely radicalize your worldview as an immediate consequence of that. This was very disjointed as these go, but I hope I was at least somewhat coherent, and I hope me awkwardly holding my mic wasn't too weird. But that's it for today. I will be back. What day is it today? Wednesday? I will be back tomorrow. I will talk about something different, probably something less broadly meaningful, and we'll go from there. And if you watch this and you want to talk about something, or you want me to talk about something, then I will consider it. I will be skeptical.